And I am particularly affected by music, and it was ultimately the Exultet, which is the chanted prayer at the beginning of the vigil that got me. The next morning, Easter Sunday, I woke up and was contemplating the mysteries of my laundry or some stupid chore, and I felt another nudge. Just go find that on YouTube, right? Something like that. There wasn't words, just I felt a nudge. So I went and pulled it, and that's when God hit me over the head with a chair, and I felt the calling. And I'm being a little flippant about it because if I remember it accurately, it brings me to tears every time. He had me just paralyzed and sobbing with joy and wonder, and I couldn't move, I couldn't breathe, I couldn't do anything but just wonder at what had just happened to me. My name is Justin Croonenberghs. I am a veteran, a network engineer, an author, and now a seminarian for the Diocese of Bismarck. It's been a bit of a journey. I did not necessarily grow up in a terribly devout family. Both parents were Christians. Grandma was a Christian. I did attend elementary school Catholic, but we moved around a lot, and so I was a little unrooted until fifth grade or so, and just wasn't terribly into the faith for many years. And in fact, I'm a little ashamed to say there was a period where I was even a bit of an atheist. But over the years, I've had a number of unusual experiences. I've been an analyst for the Air Force, deployed to some weird locations. I've experienced a whole sweet litany of things that you just don't normally get to do. I was a moderator for a very large Reddit. I was a couple hundred when I joined, and by the time I left, I was the head mod, and I had 160,000 members. So I've been active in community and doing all that kind of stuff for many years. But in any case, over time, some of my youthful angst melted away, and I began to find an appreciation for the value of faith, mostly oddly from a more of a rational and scientific perspective. I became very interested in physics and began studying philosophy and all of those things. And at the bottom of it, there's really no way of getting around some of these conclusions. So I found myself accepting the idea of God, and then I found myself interested in God and what that would mean and how it would impact my life and how it impacts the world, and began to see how necessary he was and how the world simply couldn't be what it is without him. And this sort of built slowly over time, gently. He's very gentle when he's trying to persuade you, until he's not. And for me, the calling came very suddenly and very forcefully. So the story here is we're here in the new rectory at Corpus Christi, and Monsignor Schumacher, who is my good friend, runs the parish here as the pastor. And a little bit before Easter of 2021, I found all of this coming to culmination, and I felt a bit of a nudge. A little bit before Easter Sunday, or not Easter Sunday, I'm sorry, a little bit before Ash Wednesday. And that nudge was, maybe you should just go to church. Couldn't really place the nudge. A little not out of character for me. But I had been counseling younger people that they probably ought to go find church or community and that kind of stuff. And I thought, I probably ought to take my own advice. So I took a look at it, realized I needed to do a very serious confession, like you do when you're gone for a long while. So put one of those big fish up on the wall, I suppose. And from there, I found my faith life deepening very quickly and very naturally. It didn't feel weird at all. Weekly Mass became daily Mass became adoration, became stations as I went through the Easter season. Did Lent imperfectly, but started picking up on it. And then this kind of started to calm. And then, of course, the whole Ukraine conflict kicked off at the same time. And so Monsignor and I became friends over the threat of nuclear war, like you do. And so we got to the point where we were just good buddies, which is a strange thing to say. I owe that man more than I can possibly put to words. He is a good and holy man, and if I had not met him, I wouldn't be here. But come back on Ash Wednesday, proceed through, do stations, do all of these things. Holy Week gets here, and Holy Week is just wonderful because of how progressively strange it gets through the liturgy towards the end of the week. And so for the very first time in my life, I did Easter Vigil. And I am particularly affected by music, and it was ultimately the Exultet, which is the chanted prayer at the beginning of the Vigil that got me. So went through that. It was a beautiful service. Loved the Exultet. The next morning, Easter Sunday, I woke up and was contemplating the mysteries of my laundry or some stupid chore. And I felt another nudge. Just go find that on YouTube, right? Something like that. There wasn't words. Just I felt a nudge. So I went and pulled it. And that's when God hit me over the head with a chair. And I felt the calling. And I'm being a little flippant about it because if I remember it accurately, it brings me to tears every time. He had me just paralyzed and sobbing with joy and wonder, and I couldn't move, I couldn't breathe, I couldn't do anything but just wonder at what had just happened to me. And it took me a few days to build up the courage to come to Monsignor, and so I texted him and said, I really need to meet with you. And he knew pretty much the moment we met that I had experienced that God had not been subtle with me, and he continues not to be subtle with me, and I'm very thankful because I can be pretty thick sometimes, pretty stubborn and thick, so he needs a stronger hand with me. And so I spent the next year and a half, discerning, convincing Father Dosh that I wasn't hallucinating, that I was serious about this, convincing my family that I was serious about this, convincing myself that I was serious about this, convincing my work that I was serious about this, and very thankful to my boss, Tom McDougall from High Point, because I wouldn't have been able to do this without his assurance and that safety he gave me. And when he said, "Go pursue this," it's important. It's very important when you're older that you have some kind of safety net. And if it weren't for him, I wouldn't have been able to discern at all. So much props to Tom. Out in Fargo, West Fargo. So I have spent the last, until now, honestly, just preparing. And the family finally got that it was real once I started selling the house. But so now we've sold the house. We're selling the house. We've got all the stuff out. I've turned my life completely upside down, and I don't regret a second of it. And I cannot wait to go. I'm just trying to follow his will, however imperfectly I might be doing so. And we will see. I can definitely. I had never really had thoughts of the priesthood because I wasn't necessarily terribly religious, but I'd never been non-religious either. It had always been there in kind of the back, just percolating, and I've had the usual, like most seminarians or people will tell you they've had the maybe the odd fantasy or the odd imagining as they grew up about it, and I've certainly had that more than once, but it never in a million years did I think I would be sitting here. If you told me if you told me before 2021 that this would be my future, I would have laughed in your face. I wouldn't have believed it. And now after that, I can't believe I would have ever done anything else. And I'm happy to be here, and I can't wait to see how this is going to go for me. I hope that I hope this discernment goes well. I hope that I'm on the right path. I pray for well, obviously myself, but I pray for everyone. I pray for my parish. I pray for my my pastor, Monsignor Schumacher, just everyone. This has been the wildest ride, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.